on the outside, always looking in. Will I ever be?
This is the most well-balanced book I've ever read.
Ever be more than I've always been, 'cause I'm tap.
So today, hi guys, I'm back. I wanted to talk about Dear Evan Hansen. I just finished this book like a couple weeks ago, and I wanted to talk about it because not only is it really new, and I actually finished it in the year it was published. How about that? It's a really good book. Like, it's so well written, and it's really well balanced between the plot, the characters, and the writing, where none of them balance each other out, where I can say, oh, this was the strong suit, or this was the strong suit. Even though definitely the writing was the strong suit, even though, like, I kind of just contradicted myself, but I think you guys know what I mean, where everything just was, it was just so well balanced, because everything shined. And even though the writing shined a little bit more than everything else, it was so well done. The plot was so well done. The characters were so well done. And it was just so impactful. And it's definitely one of my favorite books. It doesn't beat Turtles All the Way Down, I'm sorry. That book is way too personal for me to ever really think I could ever have a different favorite book, but so I'm just going to jump right in. If you don't know what this book is about, I don't know where you've been. Dear Evan Hansen is, it's a musical, and it's about a guy named Evan who falls out of a tree, he breaks his arm, and, you know, that's kind of the cover for the musical where his arm's out. And it says, like, you will be found, and that's, like, one of the big phrases that they use. It's a really good story. It's basically about this kid named Connor who kind of bullies Evan, and Evan writes these letters to himself, and he says, Dear Evan Hansen, today's going to be a wonderful day, and here's why, or something like that. And his therapist makes him do that, and one day, Connor gets a hold of one of these letters, and he commits suicide. And his parents find the letter, and it says, Dear Evan Hansen, sincerely me. So they think that Connor had some kind of friendship with Evan, and it kind of gets really messy because Evan is really socially awkward, and just awkward in general, and he doesn't really know how to, like, break it to them, like, hey, I actually wrote that letter, and, you know, I wasn't his friend, and, you know, it would have been heartbreaking for the family to hear that, and he tried to tell them, he tried to tell it to them, but he wasn't, successful, and, so the whole book is based on this lie that Evan and Connor were friends, and that Connor wrote the letter that Evan actually wrote. So it can get pretty intense at some points. It changes his entire life. This one lie really does change his entire life in this amount of time, and then it kind of goes back. It's a really depressing story. And a lot of the criticism that I saw on Goodreads said that, like, one of the main things I saw that people were complaining about was that it was really sad. And that you shouldn't read this if you're in a good mood because you're just gonna be in a bad mood or whatever. And I kind of don't understand that criticism, because I get if you're like, hey, personally I don't like sad books, I get that, but if you're gonna, like, say it's like the book's fault for being sad, and, you know, I don't like it because, like, it's like you're putting it on this different level, like, oh, if it's sad, it's a bad book, you know what I mean? Like, because let me just warn you, there's, like, not a lot of, there's hope, but there's also a giant lack of hope at the same time. If you read it, then you know what I mean. My friend Caitlin's reading it right now. I'm really excited for that and to talk to her about it. But it's not an uplifting story for a large portion of it. And even at the end is really sad. And I think that's just part of the story. And I think if you're gonna like discount the beautiful writing and like the good characters and the plot development, then I think that you're selling this book short. Like, you're not giving it enough credit. Like, because I think objectively it's really good. And I think, subjectively, a lot of people, especially people who read YA, and this is the genre that this has been put in, a lot of people who read YA don't like unlikable characters. They don't like sad plots. They don't like having like no really hopeful, solid, like everything has been tied up ending. And this book doesn't have that. It's not meant to have that because the story doesn't call for that. It's not meant for that. And I'm not going to ramble anymore on about that because it really got to me that people were like saying how since it's a sad book, it's a bad book. And I don't think that's valid. I don't think that's true. So now I'm going to go into like the characters, and now we're getting a little spoilery, so be careful. So basically, there's Evan, and his real name's Mark, but he doesn't like that, so he likes to go by his middle name, I think, and that's Evan. And I'm trying to think of a good way to describe the characters, because the characters are a really key point for this story, and I think that's because they're flawed. That's the only way I can put it. They're very flawed characters, and you're not gonna like all of them. Sorry to be a bummer, but you're not gonna like them all. And I think a lot of people don't like unlikable characters because they're real. They are real people. I feel like I can go out and meet Zoe. I feel like I can go out and meet Evan. I feel like I can go out and meet these people and actually like talk to them because they're so real. They're so raw. They're really flawed, and that's how I like it. Like, I don't like the characters. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't like Zoe. I don't like a lot of these characters and a lot of the other people that I just like. I didn't really like Evan. Like, I thought, I thought he was really sad, but that's not why I didn't like him. I didn't like him because I just didn't. I thought that he made a lot of poor choices, and, I can't really relate to feeling awkward because I don't usually feel awkward in social situations, and that's just a me thing. Like, I don't know. I don't really get embarrassed very often either. It's just a me thing. But I think his development is incredible, and I think the way Zoe is integrated into the plot, where eventually Zoe and Evan start going out, and they're a thing, and they start dating, and it's kind of weird because Zoe is Connor's, the kid who committed suicide. That's his sister dating his best friend. It's a little weird, not gonna lie, and other people think it's really weird, and it's just a tad weird. So they become a thing, and that's it's very interesting because Evan has had a crush on Zoe for a long time, and Zoe hasn't really even noticed him until all of this happened. So I think what I'm going to do now is just go through the plot and go through the book. And I got a lot of tabs and a lot of things I want to talk about. But first off, let's talk about the letter. So he writes a letter, Connor finds it, and then he commits suicide, and the family finds it. And Evan has no friends. Let's make that very clear. And so, in Connor, according to everyone except one person, I forget who the person's name is, who was actually romantically involved with Connor. Like, he didn't, according to everyone else, he didn't have any friends. He was just kind of the bully, and Evan didn't have any friends. And through this story, he kind of becomes friends with Jared. And Jared is the person who helps Evan with the lie. And because Evan eventually makes this thing called the Connor Project, and it's supposed to help provide resources, I think, with suicide prevention, stuff like that. I think so. I don't really want to go through the whole book and, like, reanalyze everything, but I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. And, you know, and Evan's the face of it, and it kind of blows up because he gives a speech, and Evan's speech goes viral, and it's a really good integration of technology, because I've seen a lot of YA books try and integrate, like, texting or emails or, like, whatever it is, or going viral, and this book does it very seamlessly and very well, and I just can't get over how well developed everything was. And it's written by people who are older than me, and it's really impressive. It's really cool. But he comes out with the Connor Project, and, you know, he works on that with this other girl. I don't remember her name. I just remember that she's kind of a stuck-up. She's always in the really smart classes and, like, stuff like that. Like, in my town, there's a school called Justin Siena, and, like, whoever's watching, mostly my friends only watch, so, you know, they know who Justin Siena is, what that is, and basically, she's that girl from Justin Siena that would go to a public school because her parents are like, nope, you're not going to a private school. Like, she's that girl that goes to a private school. Like, she's that girl who, like, just would fit in and be like the preppy private schools. Because I've been to private school, and I'm talking about, like, that stereotype girl. That's her. That's her, okay? So, yeah, and throughout the book, it just talks about how Evan's awkwardness and how he has this really weird relationship with his parents. His dad lives in a different state, and he has a new family, and he kind of, you know, split with his mom, and his mom is just doing her single parent thing, and, you know, that takes its toll because she has to go work a lot, and Evan, you know, has a problem because he wants to spend time with her, but, you know, she has to pay the bills, and there are times where they're both in the wrong, and where one of them's in the wrong, and I think that was really cool to finally have parents in a YA book, because I think, you know, as far as this genre goes, whether you're talking about fantasy or contemporary or whatever, if it's YA, you're not going to get, like, a good, solid impression of what the parents are doing, because really it's about the kids, and it's about the kids going on some kind of fantasy adventure, or it's about the kids' romance or whatever. But I think this book is different because the family played a huge role. Without the family aspect of this book, you know, like 100 page, like, it just wouldn't make sense. Like, it needed parent involvement, whether it was good or bad, in it. And I thought that was really important. And I thought that was really well done. And throughout the book, a few things happen. Jared, as I mentioned before, is kind of Evan's weird friend. Like, they're kind of friends, they're kind of not. And basically, over the course of the book, Jared has to make fake emails to pretend, because Evan's still trying to convince the parents that, like, him and Evan were friends. That Connor and Evan were friends, right? And he tries to give them fake emails. And so Jared knows how to make those fake emails and put, like, a different timestamp on it and stuff. So, they do that. And that's where I think, because this book has a lot of the same lyrics, like, they incorporate the lyrics of the songs into the dialogue, because it's based off a musical. And, like, Sincerely Me, I love that song. I love that song. And it was really funny how, like, they incorporated that into the fake email writing scenes. It's really cool. And I think over the course of the book, Jared and Evan become kind of friends. But there gets to a point towards, like, the end, like the last 100, maybe 150 pages. I'm sorry, I read this a while ago. Plus, it's like, it's not a huge book. It's like 360 pages-ish. There comes a time where Jared and Evan kind of get into an argument, and they kind of get to a point where, you know, they were becoming friends. And they get to a point where they both kind of think of each other as assholes, and they both kind of think of each other as kind of fake, or they think of each other as like not, they don't like each other. And I think because the middle of the book is when Evan's life gets really good, because, you know, he doesn't really have a family in the beginning. He doesn't have a girlfriend. He doesn't have any friends. No one cares that he exists. And because of this lie, he's been able to get a family, the Murphys, which is Connor's family, and Zoe's family, the Murphys, become his family. They take care of him. They help him out. They invite him over all the time for dinner. He gets a girlfriend with his crush, goals, with Zoe, and he gets all this attention, positive attention, you know, even though it's a lie. And then he gets, you know, kind of a friend out of Jared. Sorry guys, my camera was starting to run out of battery, so I had to go charge it. And I left off talking about how through the course of the middle of the book, he gets everything he ever wanted. And Evan, I feel really bad for the guy because he's a good kid. Like, you can tell, like, he's a good person. And, you know, he's just trying his best. And, you know, he made one really big mistake. And he's overcome with this guilt. You know, he's hiding this from Zoe. He's hiding this from the Murphys, and he's just hiding it from everyone. And he needs to confront it and say something. And so that's what he does. He goes up to the Murphys one night, and they invite him over, and he says, I didn't write that. I didn't write that letter. All those emails, they're not real. It's not real. I was lying the entire time. And oh my gosh, it's so sad, because we all know, like, what this means. He loses everything. He loses everything he ever dreamed of getting. And it's really sad. You know, and we learn that at the beginning of the book, it starts out with him falling out of a tree, and that's how he got his cast. And we learn that actually he didn't fall out of a tree. He purposely fell. He purposely fell out of a tree, and he was trying to kill himself. So we learn that, and that's incredibly sad. And I don't know what else to really say about this book. It leaves on that note. We do get some of Connor's perspective throughout the book, which is really cool. I have a friend named Stephanie who I brought this to school, and I was talking about it, and I was so excited, and she just read all of Connor's point of views, because that's the only point of view she cared about. She didn't care about anyone else. And I thought that was hilarious. But anyway, it leaves on that really sad note that, you know, Evan is dealing with some of the same stuff Connor was dealing with feeling alone and feeling really sad. And, you know, I thought it was kind of weird, you know, how it ended on that note, because it's realistic. It ended on a realistic note instead of like more of a really, really hopeful note, and everything ends up fine. And he ends up with a bunch of friends or something. And Zoe doesn't dump him or whatever it is. I thought that was really interesting to see. And I thought it was really cool to find a really realistic book. As like, I think when I say realistic, I mean like the people I feel I can go out and touch and meet these characters, and the plot. Even though, you know, I feel like it could actually happen. I feel like these things are actually like something that could happen. And I think that's very rare for this genre. And I think that Dear Evan Hansen, even though it's a musical, I think I think it's going to set a new tone for YA. And I hope it does. I hope it sets a new level that it's okay to be sad. It's okay to write a book about sad things. And it's okay not to have an ending where everyone ends up with their love interest, or everyone ends up with some sort of happy ending, because that's not really how the world works. And at the end, Evan does talk to, like, it happens like a year later. He talks to Zoe and he talks to Jared and stuff, and they kind of end on this, like, things get tied up and everything kind of gets settled. So it's not like, you know, oh, I lied about this huge thing and bye. No, actually they talk about it, and it's a really beautiful book. And I wanted to go through some of my sticky notes because I find it funny to look at past Savannah's thoughts. I marked where, like, the songs would be. I marked where those would be with my sticky notes, and I found this I made this joke a while ago, and my friends know what I'm about to say. And on page 157, the last sentence is Evan's describing Zoe, and he says, her rust-colored corduroys hike up just enough to reveal her naked ankles. And my response to that is, Evan's turned on by ankles. Who describes ankles as naked? They're just ankles. They're just ankles. Why do you have to put naked? Just why? I think he's turned on by ankles. That's the tea on Dear Evan Hansen. I don't think I have that much more to say except just rambling about how much I really like this book. And on page 159, oh my gosh, it's so cute because Zoe's just, I don't like Zoe. I'm not going to apologize for that. I just don't like her. I think that I just don't like her. She seems really rude to me. I think that I don't really understand why she's so rude. Like, chill. But this whole page, on page 159, is just Evan, like, apologizing, saying, I'm sorry, and, like, Zoe says, stop, please stop saying that, and, you know, he keeps saying, oh, I'm sorry. It's so cute. It's so cute. And Evan's, like, so excited that he's like, I made her smile. And I thought the romance was really cute in this book. It was realistic. The character's realistic. And I think that's all I have to really say on Dear Evan Hansen. If you want me to just ramble on more, I can. Trust me. Alright. I'll see you guys later. Peace out. I'll see you. Goodbye. Have a very nice day.